Why shouldn't you rank up Clorinde's normal attack talent? How do you build and play her? Is she really French? I'll answer all these important questions and more in this Clorinde quick guide. This is the first video in my series on Clorinde. Make sure you get subscribed so you don't miss the videos as they come out. So first off, is she just the Electro version of Arlecchino? Well, to answer that, let's first quickly review how Arlecchino works. I know this video is about Clorinde, but this won't take long. Arlecchino's kit is fairly simple and easy to understand. A large portion of Arlecchino's damage comes from the use of the Bond of Life mechanic. This is a negative health effect that prevents a character from healing. Bond of Life will slowly diminish with healing, and after receiving a certain amount of healing, Bond of Life can be cleared. So long as Arlecchino has a Bond of Life that is equal to at least 30% of her max HP, Arlecchino's normal attack talent converts her normal, charged, and plunging attacks to pyro damage. The more Bond of Life she possesses, the more damage she'll do with her normal attacks. As she attacks, she will consume some of the Bond of Life until she falls below 30%. At this point, her normal attacks will only deal physical damage and she no longer receives any benefit from having a Bond of Life. I won't go into all the details in this video, but Arlecchino's skill is mostly used to gain a Bond of Life, while her burst is used to clear her Bond of Life and provide some self-healing in return. Her burst is beneficial because while in combat, Arlecchino rejects any healing and can only be healed via her burst. Because of how Arlecchino's talents are set up, most of her damage comes from her normal attack talent. This includes the Bond of Life damage multiplier. This is why Arlecchino's normal attack talent is her highest priority. As for Clorinde, her main form of attack is also her normal attack. She also uses the Bond of Life mechanic. So how is she different from Arlecchino? While Arlecchino's core abilities are featured in her normal attack talent, the same can't be said about Clorinde. Her standard normal attack talent has no defining features and can only ever deal physical damage, although it does have some cool animations. My favorite is the charge attack, but other than that, this talent does not have any effect on her main combat abilities. Instead, by activating Clorinde's skill, Hunter's Vigil, she enters the Night Vigil state. While in this state, she gains 2 normal attacks, and like Arlecchino, she cannot be healed from any other source other than her own self-healing. Instead, she will convert a percentage of any healing that would have been received into a Bond of Life. I'll go into more detail on these new attacks and how they work in a moment. While in this Night Vigil state, she's unable to perform charge attacks, but both the new normal attacks deal electro damage, which cannot be overridden by any other infusion. So no need to worry if you use her with C6 Bennett, or anyone who provides elemental infusion. The damage and healing multipliers for both these new normal attacks are located in her skill attributes. These new attacks aren't as self-explanatory as Arlecchino's, but I'll do my best to simplify them for you. The first of the 2 new attacks transforms her standard normal attack into Swift Hunt Pistolet attacks, which is activated by using a melee attack. Every 10 seconds she will summon a Surging Blade at the position of a hit, which deals Usia-aligned electro damage. In addition, Swift Hunt essentially has 2 types of bullets that Clorinde can fire. Depending on how much Bond of Life she has at the time, she'll automatically swap between these 2 different bullets. The first of these bullets will grant her Bond of Life based on her max HP, so long as her Bond of Life is less than 100% of her max HP at the time. These bullets are special piercing rounds that can pass through opponents. Any shot that does pierce an enemy has its damage increased. She uses her second type of bullet when her Bond of Life is equal to or greater than 100% of her max HP. These use her standard pistolet rounds, which cannot pierce enemies and do not provide any more Bond of Life. They are basically just normal electro bullets. The second new normal attack she gains transforms her skill into a lunge attack called Impale the Knight. Even though you activate this ability with her skill, it is considered normal attack damage. As I mentioned earlier, she can only heal herself while in this Night Vigil state, and this Impale the Knight lunge attack is the ability that enables her to do that. Both the damage and healing capabilities increase with her Bond of Life value. This attack has 3 tiers that depend on the current Bond of Life that Clorinde possesses at the time. When activating this lunge attack with a normal health bar and 0 Bond of Life, Clorinde performs the first of these 3 tiers, a standard lunge strike that does not provide any healing and does not benefit from any increased damage. Just a standard lunge attack, nothing special. She performs the second tier when her Bond of Life is less than 100% of her max HP. This strike has its area of effect and damage increased. In addition, it will heal Clorinde based on the value of her Bond of Life. So this is a bigger and stronger version of her standard lunge attack that can heal Clorinde. Her final tier is called Pact, and has its healing, AoE, and damage increased even further. This version of her lunge attack is her strongest single strike attack, so you'll see the highest damage numbers with this attack. Now let's move on to her burst, Last Lightfall. This ability is pretty simple. It grants her a Bond of Life based on her max HP. Clorinde will then perform 5 rapid strikes with her saber and sidearm, dealing AoE electro damage to all nearby opponents in a somewhat small area around Clorinde. She does have to be fairly close to enemies to hit them with her burst. I've missed her burst because I misjudged her range, but it still has a pretty decent area of effect. Clorinde's first Ascension passive talent increases the damage of her burst and normal attacks by 20% of Clorinde's attack for 15 seconds after a nearby party member triggers an Electro-related reaction against an opponent. This can stack up to 3 times, and each stack is counted independently. This damage increase is capped at 1,800, so if my math is correct, she needs to have 3,000 attack in order to reach the maximum damage increase. It is fairly easy to achieve this with the help of Bennett's burst, or even Chevros's buffs, but I'll discuss teammates and parties soon enough. Her fourth Ascension passive talent buffs the healing to Bond of Life conversion while in her Night Vigil state from 80% to 100%. So all of the healing is instead converted into a Bond of Life. But more importantly, this passive can increase her crit rate by up to 20%. Her crit rate increases by 10% for 15 seconds whenever her Bond of Life value increases or decreases. This can stack up to 2 times, and each stack is counted independently. However, her current Bond of Life has to be equal to or greater than 100% of her max HP at the time in order for this crit rate bonus to take effect. So all that means is that this will only take effect once you've been through a couple quick rotations of Clorinde's normal attacks. Here's what that looks like. First, you use Swift Hunt attacks to gain Bond of Life. Then, use her Impale the Night lunge attack to remove it. So not only are her lunge attacks dealing greater damage by having an increased Bond of Life from her normal attacks, but the lunge attacks also essentially increase her crit rate by 10% every time they're performed, up to 20%. Her final passive talent simply marks the location of nearby resources unique to Fontaine on the minimap. Well, despite Arlecchino and Clorinde both using normal attacks and Bond of Life to improve their combat capabilities, you can probably see by now that they actually have many differences. Also, it's probably easy to see that Clorinde's kit is much more complicated. Arlecchino's primary damage multipliers come from her normal attack talent, while Clorinde's primary damage multipliers come from her skill. Although both Arlecchino and Clorinde still deal normal attack damage as their main form of attack. Arlecchino straight up rejects any healing from her teammates while in combat, while Clorinde will instead convert a percentage of healing while in combat into Bond of Life. Arlecchino's normal attack deals greater damage with the more Bond of Life she possesses. One of the few actual similarities they share is that they both have improved self-healing with the more Bond of Life they possess. This is why it's important to prioritize Clorinde's skill over all her other talents. Her normal attack talent isn't actually anything that you'll ever use, so there's no reason to invest any resources into it. I leveled up her normal attack talents once by mistake. Clorinde's burst is still very beneficial, so it is worth investing in, but her main priority still lies with her skill. Another important priority is her character level. She excels in Aggravate teams, which is a flat damage bonus that largely scales from character level. Therefore, getting her to level 90 should be one of your top priorities. Speaking of her best teams, I plan to do a deep dive. You'll see a notification on screen right now that will take you to that video once it's out. Until then, get subscribed so you don't miss it. Now I've saved the most pressing matter for last. Is Clorinde really French? Well, if you're talking about the 44-gun frigate French Navy ship from 1801, then yes. But no, otherwise she's Fontainian. Silly. I have some more Clorinde videos coming out soon, so make sure you get subscribed so you don't miss them. I'll have a deep dive video on her best teams, and another video on her best weapons, so make sure you don't miss it. Thanks so much for making it to the end of the video. Now check out some of my other videos. Here's a couple that YouTube thinks you'll like. I'll catch you in the next one.